Good morning. So we're going to talk today about the Fallbrook Farm Heritage Site, which is meant to be a monument to the Celtic pioneers who came to southern Ontario back in the 19th century. This is centered around the ancestral farm of the MacKay family. This is what the house looked like and the farm looked like as late as 1979. The significance of this site is that it's part of a community called Ballinafad, which is this very small community 30 kilometers east of Georgetown, Ontario, quite close to Toronto, which was settled. The Europeans who followed the native who had already established there over the centuries were mostly from the Highlands in Scotland, who immigrated between 1840 and 1870. The earliest were the Rockside settlers who settled near Caledon. Then they were followed by a wave of immigration that went to the Ballinafad area, all coming from the Highlands. The MacKay family, of which I am a descendant, fourth generation, came from Roger in the southeast of the Highlands in Scotland. Just used as an example of one of all the different families. There must have been 50 families in the Ballinafad area who formed a very tight community, a very poor but determined and persevering and quite ingenious Celtic settlers. They were all crofters, evicted crofters for the big majority. And what is significant about the Ballinafad community is that the way that they worked together, shared resources, pioneered the land, which was complete bush, even if it was only 60 kilometers from downtown Toronto, and had a quite active social life with few resources. Of course, much of the life centered around, social life centered around the church in Ballinafad, and the working day was 6 days a week and settled around small mixed farms. Now, what we have been trying to do with the project is to save the house, which looks like this today, and is on the point of being demolished by the Credit Valley Conservation Agency, which is the landowner of all that area along the Credit Valley watershed. It is one of the most beautiful, pristine sites in Ontario, if not Canada actually, on this small river in these small mountains, very difficult farmland, and it is the only farm left in the area dating back to that period. What is special about the home too is that it represents three periods. The first period is a period in between 1850 and 1867, when the only building there was a log cabin built by McClure, who moved there and made a mill. This was all discovered by Tom Morrison, an archaeologist and historian, an architect who worked with us, mostly free of charge, to develop the area and to explore it, and he has discovered that this was originally a mill site, and that can all be seen if you go and visit the site. It then was bought by the MacKay family, who turned it into a farm. So you see the original farmhouse, which covers and protects the original log cabin, which is still standing. All this is threatened with demolition still today after a 3-year battle to try and save it. So what is also significant is that it was also a center for native cultures because of its location near Toronto, protected location in the bush, and on a river, a small beautiful river, Silver Creek. And it has actually been the site of a very extensive archaeological site and exploration done by Laurentian University, Toronto University. And it probably does have a burial site, but there is much more to be known and explored about that site. The actual archaeological site is protected by national law, so but the farm as such is not. And today anybody can go there and visit, and it is one of the last barns, the site of an interpretation center for students. So the wish of our community organization is that it be preserved first of all, and then exploited as a historical site, a living historical site, as it was back in the past, making the relationship between the native culture, the Celtic pioneers, the first Europeans, and today's culture, or today's situation, which basically is one of Georgetown being sort of an enclave against the rapid development surrounding it, and making it one of the most interesting areas to live in southern Ontario. So the organization has been formed into a historical society called the North Halton Celtic Historical Association, and it continues with locally based organization now. It continues to work to convince the Credit Valley Authority to permit us to preserve the site and to exploit it in conjunction with the cultural heritage of the site, which is already very much exploited by the Credit Valley. So for more information, just get in touch with us through electricscotland.com, who have been one of our great supporters from the very beginning of this very challenging campaign. Thank you all.